Hello, my friends in football fandom. NFL Week 2 is now in the books. There's plenty of stuff to talk about, lots of big performances, plenty of fantasy impact, a couple of big injuries as well. Wherever you may be, however you may be watching, thank you for joining us. Boy, plenty to talk about. I mean, where do I even begin? I mean, obviously, Trey Lance is the one big story. His injury, he is out for the year. We'll talk about that. Justin Herbert also, big performances. And here to talk about all that stuff with me is the Shake from the Lone Star State, my man Tex. What's up, brother?
What's going on? Frank, I'm on top of our league, so are you ready to kiss the ring yet, or do you want to wait till the end?
It's week 2. It's week 2. I'm not worried yet.
Well, that's good. That's very mature. I like that.
This week, though, was very unique for me. I've been in close games before, fantasy-wise. 1-2 point games. It happens. Look, every time you play a sport, there are close games.
Right.
I won my money league, and you guys can see my record right there. There's my updated record. I'm sorry, I won the YouTube league, but in my money league, I'm 0-2, and in the YouTube league I won this week, I'm 1-1. Now, as I go, I can't look right now, but I won the YouTube league by 0.24 points, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Let's see.
And I lost my money league and then with some friends from work by 0.4 points. So both those games combined were less than 1 point in difference between winning and losing. That's one of the reasons why I've done decimal points. As long as they've allowed that on fantasy portals, I have done that because I want to avoid ties. I don't like ties; they fuck everything up. The one time that I tied in a fantasy game, this is the only time in 20-something years of playing fantasy football that I have tied. I tied a game in like the second or third to last week, or something like that, and a week later, the NFL changed the way it scored a play, and I ended up losing a point when they went back and changed it retroactively. I ended up losing a point in that game and lost the game by a point and missed the playoffs.
Are you kidding?
I would have made the playoffs. I would have tied for, I think, like the last spot in the league. But I mean, we both had enough wins to get in, so we would have just let us both in. And because of that, I lost a shot to win my money league that year. I mean, whatever. I mean, I wasn't pissed. It wasn't a huge money league or anything. But I was like, that's pretty shitty. But yes, that kind of thing happens, and there can be close games. But I love the fact that they finally went to the whole decimal point system in fantasy scoring, because there's no more tie. Dude, if you tie in a fantasy football game these days, then you need to go play the lottery as soon as that score is finalized, because that shit, I never see that shit happen.
Yeah, that's very odd. Normally in fantasy, it's your team either underperforms tremendously, or it's one of those games where you go, holy crap, how did one player just get 60 points by himself? So it's either or, it seems like. But
that's one of the things that's been crazy about the first 2 weeks in fantasy for me is I have caught guys on their big weeks 2 weeks in a row.
Right.
I lost in my money league. I lost my first week. I lost that game because I had Burrow week 1, and even though he had like the 5 turnovers, he still put up a decent amount of fantasy points. I think he still put up like 19 or 20 points. I mean, not as much as he could have, but there was still plenty. But who did he have the first week? I forget who it was. But he had the quarterback that scored some outrageous like 39 or 40 points. And then this week actually I think I played Didi this week in our YouTube league. And he's the one who I beat by like 0.24 points, I think. He had who did he have? Lamar Jackson, who popped off for like 48 points.
Oh, wow.
So I have caught back-to-back weeks. I have caught quarterbacks on huge weeks. And I'm just like, Jesus, it's no wonder why I'm 1-3 between my 2 leagues this year, because I'm just it's just been a bad stretch for me. Now I'm hoping luck goes the other way. I'm hoping that maybe I'll start hitting, because look, I've got Burrow. I doubled up Burrow and Chase, so I have a feeling down the stretch that's going to do me a lot of good. But I doubled up Burrow and Chase, and it hasn't quite paid dividends, but I mean it will, I think, by the end of the season. I've got it, and I'm in my money league especially. I've got a roster that I really really like. But I mean, I don't know. For some reason, it's just, I don't know. It's just the way it works. It's just the way it works.
Well, yeah. And I mean, you also have to take into account injuries, because, I mean, a lot of your starters didn't do any preseason play hardly at all. So these first couple of weeks, they're really getting put through the ringer. I know this last week alone, I had my star running back and wide receiver that I drafted were both questionable. Now, only one of them played. The other one did not. So, I mean, you got to weigh your options when you consider there's an extra game on this season. And there's just, the players don't seem to be trained as well. I mean, obviously that's a hard metric to try to measure, but there's a lot that goes into stuff like this.
Yeah. But it's just been an odd fantasy week to start. But like I said, better. I'm not ready to. I'm not giving up just yet. Not giving up just yet. But it's look. They say you can't win your league. You can't win anything early in the season, but you can sure fucking lose it. I am really on my way to losing it. I am really really close. But yeah, also don't forget, Drew's going to be going live here in about a half hour doing Less Than Serious. I don't know. I can't. Yeah.
Make sure to tell Rose that we sent y'all over there so he doesn't get his ass too chapped about us.
Yeah, I may try to put it in there. Everyone, don't forget to go check out Drew's channel tonight and tell Rose that he's a douchebag.
Hang on, never mind. I look down at the chat, and Casey is Raw's here to clout chase off of our Tuesday night show. That's been a regular for like years. Frank and I have been doing this. So Casey's over here clout chasing again, but what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, what's he going to do? I can hear him right now as he's watching this. Hold on. But yeah, definitely plenty to go into tonight. I do not have any graphics for this show. I didn't put it together like I usually would for the Thursday show. But plenty to talk about. We'll get into the news right now. The first one, obviously, the big injury was to Trey Lance. This coming from ESPN.com. After suffering a season-ending right ankle surgery and Sunday's 27-7 win over the Seahawks, which is a big win, by the way, 49ers quarterback Trey Lance is already on the road to recovery. The Niners and Lance announced Monday that the quarterback had successful surgery on his injured right ankle. The procedure took place Monday morning at Stanford Hospital, and according to a statement from the team, it repaired 2 injuries to Lance's ankle. One was a fibula fracture, and the other was a ligament disruption. I don't know what ligament disruption is, but it does not sound like it's fun to have. But they also said soon after the operation to repair his injuries, Lance took to social media to offer some insight to how he was feeling. He did release a picture of him laying in his hospital bed on Twitter, saying, "Truly appreciate all the messages and prayers. Surgery was a success, and I'm ready to attack the rehab process. We will never understand why, but trust it's all part of his plan. We'll be back better than ever. The chapter is going to make the story even greater." Obviously wishing him, excuse me, obviously wishing him a speedy and quick and full recovery, because, I mean, look, I am one of those people that thinks they should have sat him for another year, just went ahead and gone with Garoppolo. You were paying Garoppolo all the money. He's taking to 2 NFC title games and a Super Bowl. He can't be that bad of a quarterback. But they decided to make the move and to go to Lance full time. It is what it is. I'm not the GM there. But look, this is a pretty big story. Number one is the injury. Now, from what I've heard, and I was watching Dr. Brian Sutter on YouTube. For those of you who don't watch him, whenever there's a major sports injury, he's usually right onto his YouTube channel breaking down the medical side of the injury. He's actually a fascinating channel to watch if you're into that kind of stuff. But he actually, from what he was saying, this injury is actually not nearly as bad as it could have been. He said it would have been worse had it broken the tibia and not the fibula, because, as you know, in your lower leg there are 2 bones, not just one.
Right.
And the bone that he broke, the fibula, is not the main bone that you feel like when you touch the front of your calf, your shin. That's the tibia you feel. The fibia is something that's kind of off to the side that just adds structure to the leg and kind of helps support it when you move around. For me, this is me not being a doctor, so if I'm getting that description a little bit wrong, I apologize. But yeah, for all the time I've spent in med school, which is basically watching a lot of ER back in the day.
So I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, but from what he was saying, this is actually a pretty good case scenario for him to not only recover fairly quickly, but also recover fully. So the Niners have already released a statement saying they're expecting him to be good to go for a training camp next summer, which is a good thing because training camp is very important, especially when you've played all the 4 games in the last 3 years. So, I mean, yeah, my concern on this, I mean, obviously, look, I didn't think they should go with Garoppolo because Trey Lance wasn't any good. He didn't play his last year in college. He opted out because of COVID. Like a lot of players opted out of their sports at the college or pro level. That's whatever. He opted out of his last year of college because of COVID. He gets drafted. He didn't really play a whole lot his first year because it was the first year they had Garoppolo. The times that he did play, he didn't look all that great, but he was a rookie. My thought was, let him develop. You've got Garoppolo, a guy who can win, a guy who has won you games. I mean, there's something like, what are they? They've won like 80% of their games with Garoppolo or some ridiculous shit. I mean, he's a guy who can get you in the win column. He can win you games. It's like, you've got this guy, you're paying him. You've got Lance. Let him grow and develop for another year. You've got another draft and another free agency cycle to get him whatever tools you need, whether you need to, and I think I just lost Tex. Yes, I did just lose Tex. But you get him everything he needs to like, if you need to beef up the offensive line to protect him, you can do that. If you want to get him another wide receiver as a target to help him out, you can do that. If you want to get him whatever, you can get him anything. Get a defense to help him out. Defense helps the quarterback a lot, for those of you who don't know. And I believe we have Tex back. There we go. They're texting back now. Okay,
I got kicked out for no reason. What the hell?
That's odd. But yeah, I mean, it's like, you have all these reasons. Just go ahead and sit him for another year, and then then trade Garoppolo next year. Now, I understand what the Niners were seeing kind of as they were reading the tea leaves. They were kind of looking at their crystal ball and saying, next year is going to be a pretty good draft for quarterbacks. There's nobody that really blows you away. There's no Elway or Marino. There's not one of those players that's going to go number 1 overall. But I mean, it's a pretty deep draft. There's a lot of talent that's going to be available in it. So they're saying, we got to try to get rid of him now. We can get the most we can out of him instead of keeping him for a year, because if a bunch of people are going to draft quarterbacks next year, then who's going to want to take a chance on Garoppolo? But I mean, it ended up not working out. They kept him. They restructured his contract to make it a little more team friendly with the money, and they kept him on as a backup. Boy, does that look like a great decision now. That's like,
well, I bet they're real happy that Jerry Jones didn't want him bad enough that he started throwing the wallet at him, because I know sports talk radio down here was going nuts with them wanting to go get Garoppolo whenever Dak Prescott went down. And, you know, obviously they didn't do it. They played Cooper Rush. So, you know, the 49ers, it was good cooler heads prevailed, or trade talks didn't work out either way. But he could have been a Cowboy. Like I said, obviously I don't know how close the talks got, but there was a lot of people wanting to see a star on Garoppolo's helmet instead of a 49er symbol. So, but hey, he's playing now either way.
And you know, the funny thing is there was a lot of talk about that after week 1, after Dak got hurt.
Right.
Is they were like, could they make a move? Now, the thing is Dak didn't look very good in week 1 not Dak, but Trey Lance didn't look very good in week 1 against Chicago. Now, a lot of that was the weather. Those games were really, really hard to play. No matter what your game plan is, when you're getting socked in by torrential rain and the field is basically a mud hole, it's really hard. It's really, really hard to play football the way that we're used to watching these guys play football in a controlled environment. But so I was willing to give him a little bit of a pass for that. But after that, if you wanted to come get Garoppolo from the Niners, they'd have to say, look, we don't know what we have with this guy yet. Look, I was one of those people. I went into the season saying I would have met that after week 4, we were going to know if Trey Lance was going to be worth starting this year or not. Because he had, going into it, I thought he had a winnable game against Chicago. Then he had Seattle, which has always been, even when they're not doing well, the rivalry between Seattle and San Francisco has been big in the NFL for the last decades. And then they had Denver, which has got Russell Wilson. I mean, they're not looking so hot right now, but Russell Wilson is one of the reasons why Seattle was always giving us problems.
So he didn't look very good on Sunday night or whatever. I caught part of it. He did not look good.
and then they had the defending Super Bowl champion LA Rams. I was like, so we're going to know after if they started 0-4, I was going to be like, yeah, sit that guy down and put Garoppolo back in. Or even if they started 1-3, I'd have been like, we might need to go back to G. But I mean, now that, like I said, the injury's kind of taken it out of our hands at this point because it is what it is.
Well,
let's see.
That's what makes me wonder about Trey Lance as a whole. I mean, yes, he did sit out a year for COVID, which I think is stupid or whatever, but you really have to wonder about his physical toughness. How is he going to hold up?
Well,
and you know, I mean, I didn't draft him because I knew of the college stuff. That was one of the things that put me off on him. And I really wanted Allen. That was the one person that I really wanted, but I don't know about it.
Let's be fair about the opting out thing. That was really early in COVID, and we didn't know a lot of the stuff that we know now. So so not knowing what you don't know can make you kind of step back and kind of approach things very, very cautiously. Now, we don't have the information on COVID, or we have it now that we didn't have 2 or 3 years ago. So a lot of people opted out. Like I said, sports athletes from all over college and pro levels did it. Again, we just didn't know what we didn't know, so they decided to make that choice out of safety. I get it. I don't blame that. All I'm saying is when you sat out, you missed out a year of game time and development. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he was still working. Yeah. He was still working out, keeping himself healthy and kind of like ready to go out and practice, but he wasn't practicing. I don't know what kind of work he was doing off on the side. I'm sure he was working with somebody because he knew he had the NFL draft.
They probably had him with the trainer one-on-one or something, if I had to guess, but who knows?
But as far as the injury, it's like I said, look, you got 11 guys out there that are 6'5", 6'6", or taller, weighing 230 pounds of pure muscle.
Right.
I mean, and they've got pads on, so they're not afraid to throw their entire body at you and hit you as hard as they can.
Exactly.
So, look, I don't care how strong you are. Human bodies have a breaking point. Even physical specimens like football players, who are some of the most physically gifted human beings on the planet, they have points where the body's like, okay, we can't handle this. Something's going to break. So I don't even get mad at the injury, but I mean, it's situationally, this doesn't look good for Lance, because what's going to happen is I, as a 49er fan, I'm a Bay Area native and a 49er fan. As a 49er fan, I was watching with caution because I wasn't quite sure what I was getting out of him. Which is one of the reasons why I said I think we should just let Jimmy start another year. Let Jimmy G start another year, give him an extra year of development that he's going to need, because he's 22 years old or something like that. He's got 10 or 12 years of his prime still in front of him. It's like, let him spend one of those years sitting down and just learning and working with Shanahan and the offense and all this stuff to really get his shit wired tight. So when he comes out for week 1 next year, he's ready to go out and kill. He's going to be a fucking mercenary. I think that would have worked out great for him. Putting him out there now, it's like, why not give him the extra year of development? You've got Garoppolo. It's not like, look, right now, here's what they've got. They've got Garoppolo now as the starter. They've got Brock Purdy, who is not a terrible quarterback. He looked really good in the preseason this year. It was actually back and forth between Brock Purdy and they drafted Mr. Irrelevant this year. I forget who it was, but he's actually the backup in Detroit now, I think. Detroit signed him as soon as the Niners released him after preseason, because both those guys looked really, really good in the preseason. Now, granted, it was preseason, but whatever.
Bro.
But they did also just sign today. Actually, they signed Kurt Benkert to the practice squad. He played a couple of years with I don't have the article sitting in front of me anymore, but he played. I think last year he was on. I think he was the emergency quarterback for Green Bay last year, and a couple of years before that played for somebody. I forget who was like their third quarterback or on and out the practice squad. So I mean they've got him if any chaos really takes place. But yeah, it's significant, and it's significant for Trey Lance. Look, I want the guy to be successful. I'm a Niner fan. If he wins games, my favorite team is winning games, and that's just fine by me. Right. But looking at it from an outsider's perspective, now granted, I don't know what they know in house. I'm not in on their meetings. I'm not getting emails from John Lynch or Shanahan or any of those guys. I'm not in the room. They're not telling me what the fuck they're thinking. They're not telling me why. But just from my perspective, from 3,000 miles away where I live, it's I don't know. I feel like another year of growth wouldn't have hurt, because like I said, he's 22. I mean, is that extra? I mean, look, Brady didn't start until he was 26. It's like,
well, that's the whole thing. I mean,
And look at how good it was for him to sit for a year and watch.
Well,
you got to say it worked out pretty good for Brady.
Oh, well, it worked for Brady. I mean, I can even go back to Troy Aikman. Whenever he was drafted, he was thrown right in on it too. And a lot of people were saying the same things. Oh, just let him sit for a year, blah, 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 whatever. But that first year that he played, it wasn't that 90s Cowboys that everybody remembers. It was that crappy version before they won 3 Super Bowls. And, I mean, whether you throw them in feet first into the fire or you set them for a year, it's a judgment call when you get in that situation. And I mean, thank goodness for San Francisco's sake that they've been blessed with 2 capable quarterbacks with Lance and Garoppolo here. So, you can kind of play with it a little bit. I mean, hopefully he heals quickly. And, I mean, now he's got that whole year to sit and learn, I guess. He just had to get knocked out to get it. But, hey, what you going to do? So, one way or another, right?
Yeah, and as a Niner fan, it's kind of shitty because we're dealing with some injuries already. We got Jeff Wilson Jr., who's starting quarterback or starting running back right now because we also lost Elijah Mitchell for 2 months because of his sprained right knee in week 1. So, and on top of that, who's the other running back? Tyron Davis-Price suffered a high ankle sprain in the game against Seattle. So he's going to be out for multiple weeks. So now they also did just what's the name? Marlon Mack, who's actually seen some NFL action over the course of the last several years. I think they just promoted Marlon Mack from the practice squad. So they got that going for him too.
Now, considering that the NFL added a 17th regular season game, how does that affect their conditioning and training? You would think it would intensify, right? Because we're getting a lot of these little minor injuries that end up stacking up, and obviously injuries are part of the game of football. It is what it is. But it seems like we're getting a lot more these days. And I don't know if they're not pushing them hard enough or they're so big and muscular that, when you get hit, like you said, something's going to happen. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, like I said, I mean, you've got there's only so much you can do with equipment. There's only so much you can do with technique. You've got 2 human beings that are very large throwing themselves at each other at a high rate of speed. I mean, yeah, you can punch a wall and not hurt yourself the first time, but if you continually punch a wall over and over and over again, you're likely to hurt something. I mean, you can put on a glove to cushion the blow. You can put some padding on the wall, but the more and more and more you do it, the more likely you are to eventually hurt yourself. And that's what this is. I mean, look, professional sports these days, even compared to the stuff that we grew up on, like in the 80s, totally different. I mean, look, think of it this way. I mean, Babe Ruth, who was like 5 foot nothing and weighed 350 pounds of melted fucking ice cream, was the first player to hit more than what I think was 20 home runs in a season. I mean, nowadays you get like 30 or 40 people that hit like 30 home runs a year. It's not a big deal.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, in a time where home runs were not really a regular occurrence in baseball, they were actually fairly rare. You got Babe Ruth, who went out there one day. He's like, I'm just going to hit 60 as bitches. And that guy, like I said, he was 5'9". He weighed 320 pounds. There was nothing athletic about the guy at all. He was just really fucking good at what he did.
Oh yeah.
But even baseball these days, I mean, these guys are specimens. I mean, all steroid stuff aside, because I think baseball is the worst transgressor about steroids. But all that stuff aside, I mean, even guys like A-Rod and look at Buster Posey, the longtime catcher for my favorite team, the Go Giants. I mean, these guys take good care of themselves. Look at Albert Pujols. I mean, there's never been a whiff of steroids on that guy, and he's coming up on the 700 home run mark. I mean, look at guys like I'll go down to your home state and Pudge Rodriguez. I mean, one of my favorite players to ever watch play the game.
Oh, I loved Pudge. He was so cool.
These guys just go out there and do it. And athletes these days, they are specimens. And when you get into a physical game like football, it's gonna happen. I mean, it's injuries. Look, I've done things where I like walk into my house carrying a bag of groceries and I'll make that right turn as I come out of my garage to go into my kitchen. I twist the wrong way.
Slip a disc carrying groceries.
and my knee pops and I have to like stop for a minute and like gather my senses because I'm like, holy shit, because I feel it go up my leg. It's like I'm doing that without having someone that size trying to tackle me. So I mean, it happens. I don't know what you can do.
Well,
they've got all the technology now. They had those new padded helmet things they were using in the preseason this year to help reduce concussions or impact. I mean, they've redesigned the pads, they've redesigned the helmets themselves, they've tried some rule changes. There's not a whole lot you can do when one large human body is making contact with another large human body at a high rate of speed. There's only so much you can do.
Yeah, so, if you're throwing two guys that are 350 pounds at one another at full speed, something's going to pop. I mean, that's just the way it is. Gravity's going to hit, and somebody's going to get the business end of it. So, I mean, you just hope it's not you, I guess.
Yeah, but we'll talk a little bit more about the fantasy implications of Trey Lance here in a minute. Moving on to another quarterback injury, Justin Herbert is now day-to-day with a fracture to his rib cartilage. This coming from Costa Mesa, California, also from ESPN.com. Justin Herbert suffered a fracture to his rib cartilage during Thursday night's 27-24 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs and is day-to-day, according to Coach Brandon Staley. Staley did say about the diagnosis that it was good news that the CT scan did confirm that. He also said we'll know a lot more about practice and stuff like that on Wednesday. It's going to take a weekend and beginning Monday and Tuesday to learn a lot more. The Chargers are 1-1. They do have 9 days off. They have a little bit of an extended week before they play their Week 3 game against Jacksonville at SoFi Stadium. I don't know if you saw that hit, Tex, but I mean he got sandwiched pretty fucking hard.
I saw the highlight of it, and it looked gnarly. It looked much worse than a rib injury. I will say that. And I mean, for it just to be a rib thing, he's probably lucky, considering how hard he got walloped. But
he got squashed. I mean, that guy came down on him hard. Because I managed to watch a little bit of that game, and it was brutal. It was really kind of, I mean, I felt bad for him. It's like he came out for a little bit, then went back into the game, and you could tell very, very clearly, like it was obviously his throwing side, but it's like he couldn't put a lot of zip on the ball at first.
Right.
And when he did complete a pass or go downfield, he was like, he had his one arm kind of tucked in to kind of dull the pain a little bit.
Oh yeah.
He did not have his full range of motion. And the fact that he went out there and he actually completed a couple of good passes after that is actually kind of wild.
Well, that just shows you how much of an athlete that he is. That, I mean, whatever, you've got a rib injury, you can't even get a deep breath to do something like that, So that just shows the intestinal fortitude and athleticism that this dude possesses here. So, I mean, anybody else would have been on the bench crying at that point.
Yeah, I've had bruised ribs before.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't even like a bad case. It was just like you got a little bit of a bruise. It's going to go away in a couple of days. Mm-hmm. And even that, it was just like, reaching out to grab something. It would send pain all down my right side. So, that's rib injuries are not a fun thing to deal with if you're ready to deal with them. They're not good at all. But not quite the same situation that Trey Lance is in. I mean, it does look like he's going to probably be available for their Week 3 game against Jacksonville.
They can wrap it up, and as long as there's no, major risk of it puncturing a lung or something else, he'll at least be available, like you were saying, or whatever. But I mean, you can't put a cast on it. You just got to deal with it. Whether you can play or not, it's a different issue.
Yeah, and quite the opposite of Lance. Instead of Lance, Lance got hurt very, very early in the game. Lance got hurt very early in the game. This Herbert's injury came with 5 minutes and 9 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. The Chiefs defensive end Mike Dana delivered a hit that left Herbert laying on the field for an extended period of time. Herbert missed one play before returning and then was immediately crushed between Chiefs pass rushers Frank Clark and George Karlaftis, but remained in the game. Yeah, again, if you saw that, then he got whacked.
Oh yeah, he got knocked the fuck out.
And it was one of those hits. It was one of those hits that it when you see it, you kind of like go, ugh, you cringe a little bit. Because that shit hurts. But when he was riding around the ground, I was like, ruh-roh.
Well, anybody who's played football, whether it's football with your friends out in the field or you've actually put pads on and done it, you know what it feels like to get that hit and just that smash. That's that it's that ooh feeling, where it kind of collectively takes everybody's breath for a second. But, I mean, that's part of the game. Injuries come with it. So
I know you remember the Joe Feisman injury from so many years ago.
Oh God, yeah.
I was watching that game live when I was
really.
a kid. Oh yeah, I will never ever forget. I mean, that was something. I was watching that game live. I mean, you guys can go look at you can find the replay on YouTube. But it was one of those. Yeah. It was one of those things. Like, even how old was I? I was probably 10 or 11 years old when that play happened. And it's like everybody, because we were having a big barbecue at a relative's house. We were all watching football because that's what we did. And we were watching that shit happen live on TV. And that was the one where everybody has to like turn away because it turned your stomach. I mean, not that this was nearly as bad, but I mean, still, it was something.
Oh yeah. Well, I used to have a videotape. It was like a collection of the worst football injuries or whatever. It was one of those deals that they'd put out on VHS and sell at Walmart or whatever. And it had all that stuff on it. And we would just watch that, just, oh, boom, bang, that kind of stuff. Because people remember that kind of stuff. I can remember it was either 90, oh, Jesus, was it 94 or 95? I can't remember now. But it was one of Troy Aikman's worst hits. I think they were playing against Green Bay, and the Green Bay linebacker comes across the line, just picks him up by the waist and slams him onto the ground. His head bounces back and forth a couple times. He woke up so goofy. He's talking to like Emmett or I don't know whoever he was talking to, but he's walking the other way, seeing them on that other side. He was so goofy after that kind of hit. But there's a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah. But injuries are no joke. It's been a busy first 2 weeks in the NFL. I mean, there have been a lot of really, really big performances by individual players. I mean, a couple of quarterbacks in particular in the first 2 weeks. There's been a couple of running backs are really killing it right now. None of mine, unfortunately. Well, actually, no. DeAndre Swift, who I've got in one of my leagues. I think it's my money league. He's been killing it. I won my my YouTube league. Sorry, I won my YouTube league or my YouTube league game this week because of Swift and who else did I have? I think Stephon Diggs. It's like I pretty much won that league because those guys put up huge games. Stephon Diggs 2 weeks in a row now has put up 20 plus points.
Yeah, I'm looking at our scores here. I mean, not to get into the fantasy part yet, but you won 113.1 to 112.7. So, I mean, that's how close your game was. That's crazy.
Yeah, 0.4
that's
points.
Insane.
Right. I love it, and I beat Deity. Yes. I didn't even change my name. I was gonna put Gore the God Butcher because he's the deity, but I didn't even change it because I didn't get around to doing it. But hey,
is your profile pic a bottle of Mellow Yellow? Is that what that is?
Yeah, that was for week one. I played Mellow
Okay,
Yellow.
That's what I thought, but I couldn't zoom in on it. I'm like, I think that's what it is.
It's a bottle of Mellow Yellow with a screw head to it. That's why the name of my team was Mellow Yellow, was Wish.com Mountain Dew or Wish Mountain Dew.
Right. Yeah, Wish Mountain Dew. Yeah, that's fine.
So I'll have to. I think I play Casey next week. So I'm already coming up with some good names for Casey.
Oh, well, Casey, he gives you so much. Like, you can go 15 different ways with it. It's easy.
But let's talk for just a minute about the brawl. Football turned into a cage match in the Bucs Saints game. Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans has been suspended without pay for one game for his role in Sunday's altercation with New Orleans Saints cornerback Marshawn Lattimore. That came from the NFL Monday. Evans was suspended for violating unnecessary roughness and unsportsmanlike conduct rules, the league said. Evans will not be eligible to return until after Sunday's home opener against the Green Bay Packers. Evans is allowed to appeal the suspension under the NFL's collective bargaining agreement. If he does appeal, the hearing will be before either Derek Brooks or James Thrash, who have been jointly appointed by the league and the NFLPA to rule on appeals of on-field player discipline. Did you see this whole thing happen? Because I watched the highlight of it. Yeah, I watched the highlight. Look, honestly, it's part of it. I don't see the big deal. The other part of it,
I don't either.
part of it is you're getting a bunch of guys that are fucking probably roided out, if we're being perfectly honest. The
Oh,
testosterone's
100%.
real fucking high. You're in a game situation, and these guys are competitors. We all know what it's like to be in a competitive atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, a little bit of trash talking, stuff like that. Sometimes these things can boil over. I mean, anytime you get a group of guys together doing something physical, something like that is almost inevitable. But this kind of went to a whole other level. There was a lot of punches thrown. There was people on the ground. It was a little bit of a melee for a while. So I'm not entirely surprised at all this. Tex, what are some of your thoughts on that whole brawl?
Well, first of all, I'm a lifelong Texas A&M fan, and Mike Evans came from my team, so he will forever have my support. Giga Maggies. But I'm kind of one-sided with this. Whenever I saw this go down, I wanted Mike Evans to grab the dude by his face mask and like flop him over like it was a wrestling match and give him a DDT or something. But it's like you said, testosterone was high, punches were thrown, and they're wearing football helmets. If we're throwing punches, are we really worried about somebody getting hit? I mean, come on, guys. Let's be men here. But they're so touchy with this stuff. You can't even hit a quarterback or a kicker anymore. I'm not surprised that they took or they made the decisions that they did, because it's just, it's the way it works now. But I think it was overblown. Give them a fine, if anything, and move on. There's no reason to keep these guys off the field next week. That's stupid. I don't understand it.
I'm gonna drop a comment in Drew's show real quick. Hold on.
Be like, hey, if you want to watch the real B show, come over here.
Just wanted to pop in and say that the Rose is a douchebag.
Oh,
I got to end it like this. XOXO.
Put like just kidding. Put like just kidding question mark. Something at the very end.
I'm not kidding. They all know I mean it.
Hey, they're talking. Hey, we love those guys. We're all on the same team here. If you want to go watch video game talk, you know what's going on over there. So,
well, I've actually got Less Than Serious running on my phone right now, so that I can at least read their chat. But
right.
But
there you go.
Yeah, but
That's funny.
Yeah, go watch Drew. Link to his stuff is in the description below.
But the whole brawl, I think that's kind of a big word, and I think that's a word that media put on this to get it more attention. It was a skirmish, at best. It was nothing. It's whatever. They should have let it go.
Well, part of it is, look, Tom Brady was the one that was talking shit. And then
but he's always talked shit, though.
Lattimore started drawing back to Brady, and that's when Evans came over. Now, I'm all for protecting your quarterback. I'm all for that. So I'm all for Mike Evans coming up there and protecting his quarterback. The problem is that he blindsided the dude. So, and then of course, other teammates are going to come to defend their teammate, and then so on and so on and so on, and it devolves into this. Look, one game, I wouldn't appeal it. I mean, it's one game. Who cares? You're going to miss one game. I would imagine Tampa Bay is going to beat the Packers anyway. The only problem Tampa Bay's got right now, personnel-wise, is wide receivers. They're kind of hurting on wide receiver depth right now because they've got a couple of guys hurt. They actually just signed somebody, I forget who. Oh, Cole Beasley. You know Cole Beasley.
Yeah, he was one of the Cowboys' inside wideouts for a long time. Yeah, that's a hard-working football player. I'll tell you what. He's small and he can run those routes where you don't even see him on the field until he's just open and free. He's a very key player. Very good.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest problem the Bucs face right now is their wide receiver depth is kind of destroyed.
Right.
They do have Leonard Fournette. Not bad. They got Tom Brady. That never hurts anything. Let's see. But they did play last Sunday with, let's see, if his suspension stands, which I'm sure it will, it would further deplete the receiving corps already dealing with multiple injuries. The Buccaneers played Sunday without Chris Godwin and Julio Jones. Bro. So you're looking at having your wide receiver 1, 2, and 3 both on the sideline for a game against the Green Bay Packers. And granted, the Green Bay Packers don't have the best wide receiver in the world either. But if you're going to depend on your quarterbacks, you're going to have Aaron Rodgers going against Tom Brady. So it's going to be a battle of which quarterback can get the most out of their.
Hey, you know what? I've got Fournette on my roster, and if all those wideouts there, that means my guy's going to get a ton of work. So give me those fantasy points.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I want to make very clear that Drew had cut over to us for a few minutes because obviously the Rose game, you can't carry a show. But
well, the Rose couldn't carry water in a bucket, much less a show. But hey, it's all good. It's all good. So,
but let's get to some of our fantasy talk right now. And Tex, how did your fantasy team do this week? Let's talk about our YouTube league for a minute. How did your fantasy team do?
I did very well. I was very happy. We let's see. Let me go to my team here. I played B-Bones Ball. I believe that's Brody, isn't it?
Yes, that's Brody.
Yeah. Projections initially were very close, but he had Trey Lance as quarterback. So, like, we were even DMing in the group there that we have. He goes, "Yeah, my day's over." Once he saw Trey Lance go down, because I have Allen, he played Monday and everything else. But I ended up winning 127.8 to 65.7. 2 weeks in a row, I've beaten my opponent by at least their score. So I could not be any happier right now. So I'm doing good.
Yeah, there are only, I think, 2 or 3 undefeated teams left in our league. Everybody in my division is 1-1.
There's me and Horny Broncos are undefeated at the moment.
And then let's see, looking at mine from week 2, I'll go back and kind of break down what I was messing with last week. Let me go ahead and put this up on the screen so that you guys can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've got all the games right here. I can read them off as you put them up if you want, Frank, or whatever.
No, I'm gonna go ahead and put them up here so that
okay, cool.
Everybody can see live scoring. That way, nobody. I could just lie and be like, "Yeah, I totally scored 1,000,000 points," and I want people to be able to look at me on the stream and call me a fucking liar if I try to call people out. I mean, I've already talked about how I won my game by the skin of my teeth this week in the YouTube.
Right.
It's like I have a whole lot of bragging I can do.
Hey,
but
whether you win by an inch or a mile, it's still a win, right?
Yeah, so, hey, I'll take it. I'm 1-1 at the end of the day. It's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Real quick shout out to the chat. What's up, Larry Tate? How's it
going? What's up, Larry Tate?
EJ has been watching both me and Drew. Drew popped in and said, the Rose says you're absolutely right, Frank. Yes, that he's a douchebag. TSS2, what's going on? Casey has been in here. Frederico, what's going on, my brother? So what's going on to all of you who are coming checking me?
Lots of cool people. We appreciate y'all coming over.
But here is, I think it's on the screen now. Yes, it is. Here is my game last week. Man, I went up against Lamar Jackson. God, it's a miracle that I pulled this game out. But I told Drew, when we were on Derailed Sunday, I told Drew, I said there's an outside chance because I had a lot of players going. I had Aaron Jones and Stephon Diggs, and both those guys I knew could put up serious points. I think I had Derrick Henry and Adam Thielen going too. So I was like, I still have enough guys going that I can at least make a game out of it. And I did. Derrick Henry didn't do a great job, 25 yards rushing and 1 rushing touchdown. It's not great, but I mean, I expect more than 8.5 points out of one of my star running backs, but whatever. Aaron Jones, though, a fucking workhorse. 3 receptions for 38 yards and a touchdown, plus 132 rushing yards and a touchdown. I got 30.5 points out of him. And Stephon Diggs, he almost broke 40. So Stephon Diggs himself kind of neutralized the points that he got from Lamar Jackson. Then, I swapped out. Let me go to my bench real quick. I swapped out Freiermuth, the tight end from Pittsburgh. I swapped him out and put in Juju Smith-Schuster because I was kind of right. The Chargers Chiefs game was kind of a shootout, but Juju Smith-Schuster got none of that. 2 receptions for 10 yards. He got 2.5 points out of that cat, and that was all I got, which was really disappointing. I managed to get a double-digit game out of my kicker this week after getting a goose egg from him, or I think 1 point from him last week, so that helps. Indianapolis defense got me absolutely fucking nothing. 24 points allowed, no good stats. I was really high on Indianapolis defense coming into the season. They were considered like a high-end second-tier defense. Right. But man, I'm shopping them now. I'm looking around. I think I have another defense on there anyway. I got the Tennessee defense, but that's not good enough.
You're going to say that they're not great from the stats that I've seen.
It's time to start streaming some defenses, I think. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking like. But yeah, I mean, so props to fucking Aaron Jones and Stephon Diggs, who got me the big win over Deity this week.
I don't know. For me, obviously, Allen, he always puts up big numbers. That's the reason why I went first. Even though you and J-Man, look, who takes a quarterback first in a blah 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 league? Yeah, who's laughing now, bitches? But then I had Barkley. He gave me 10, the running back for the Giants. He didn't have a huge game, but whatever. Now I had Fournette for Tampa Bay. He was a game time decision, and even I put him in like 11:30, like it was almost game time. And I checked it one last time, and I was like, well, everything says he's going to play. So the dude that I had replacing him from my bench, he got, half the points completely healthy. So I got the 8 points from Fournette I'll take. Other than that, 7-11. Now besides Allen, the Tampa Bay defense came huge for me today or Sunday. I got 33 out of them because they shut New Orleans down.
6 sacks, a defensive touchdown, and 5 takeaways.
Oh yeah, no, they were. I was watching that game just licking my chops because it was just, it was great. They almost put up as much as Allen did, but obviously, Brody had, he had Trey Lance go down, and he had Kamara, the New Orleans running back. I don't know why he started him because he didn't play whatsoever. So he automatically had a 0 point on his record for the day. So I don't know, maybe he just slipped his mind or whatever, but can't stay on top of all of it, I guess.
Yeah, Brody. He had Trey Lance who got injured early, so he didn't put up points. Kamara didn't play. Joe Mixon just didn't put up very good stats. Neither, for that matter, did Justin Jefferson. 6 receptions, 48 yards. If Justin Jefferson could have put a touchdown on the board, that might have given him about an average scoring line. But 7.8 points is enough. And Kyle Pitts, dude, all of his guys threw up stinkers. Like I said, Lance hurt. Kamara was injured, didn't play. But the guys that did, they didn't break 10 points, except for his flex guy, St. Brown, put up he had 9 receptions for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns. St. Brown
put up a ton of points. It was funny whenever I was watching our his and my game. Initially, he was beating me for like 3 hours, but it was really close. It was like he was beating me by 10 or 15. And then as the day went on, it got a little more in my favor. And then once I got over him on points, it was over because by that point, Trey Lance had been took out and everything else. The writing was on the wall. But, St. Brown, he put in some work Sunday. So credit to that dude.
Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown was more than 50% of his entire offense, of his entire points. When you have one player that does that, either you won by a lot or you lost by a lot. Because that's, we'll look ahead to your week 3 real quick. And let's see,
I got. Speaking of the Rose, he will be my next victim that runs into the chainsaw of death that I have in my hands. So yeah. Let's see here.
Let's see. You've got Josh Allen going against Tom Brady. Point wise, look, Brady against Green Bay. Again, it's really weird because both Green Bay and Tampa Bay, their receiving corps are just not good. But Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are 2 quarterbacks that somehow managed to find receivers when they need to see them. I give Tom Brady a huge advantage over Aaron Rodgers in that game, but I don't know about Buffalo because as good as Miami is, Josh Allen's going to be able to, or as good as they've been those first 2 weeks of the season, Josh Allen is going to be the first significant threat that they're going to face all year. And Josh Allen has made mincemeat out of Miami for the last couple of years. So I don't know. You've got, let's see, your running backs. You've got Saquon Barkley, Leonard Fournette right now. He's got Rex Burkhead and Christian McCaffrey. Well, McCaffrey hasn't gotten hurt yet. We'll give him that much. As far as Rex Burkhead is concerned, Rex Burkhead is kind of a low end. He's a high end too, but he's not the starter in Houston. So I don't know what kind of points he's going to get out of him. But I don't know. You never know. They're playing Chicago at Chicago, so I don't know.
Yeah, I was just say they're at Chicago. Who knows? I don't really know how well or how good he is. We'll see. Chicago defense. I haven't kept up much with them. Are they pretty stout this season, or what? I haven't really looked into that.
Like I said, the first game for Chicago, it's hard to kind of figure that out because of the weather and field conditions and all that. It just really screws everything up. So it's hard to tell. Last week, I forget what Chicago did last week.
Well, even if it is a bad weather game, that's even more in his favor because it's going to be a running base game. So he's going to get a lot more touches, or at least potential for touches either way. So, I mean, that may work out in his favor.
And Christian McCaffrey's playing New Orleans. New Orleans has not looked all that great this year, so he might end up getting some good
He could have a big touches. Day. Yeah. I mean, he's already projected at 20. I wouldn't be surprised if he got at least 30. It wouldn't shock me.
In the wide receiver tight end weird flex spot that goes on in our league, you've got Brandon Cooks and Devontae Smith. I like Devontae Smith more than Cooks, but I mean Cooks, you're playing against Chicago, and they haven't had, like I said, I don't know what their defense is. I didn't watch him last week. He's got CeeDee Lamb from Dallas, who's basically the one getting all the touches. Hey, Dallas looked pretty good with Cooper Rush. I'm not gonna lie. I was giving Drew a lot of shit for that, but you know what? I'm gonna eat a little bit of crow on that. They did win. They won against the defending AFC champs, nonetheless, who I think are a much better team. So,
well, I will say for Cooper Rush, I was watching the game live, and obviously his presence on the field, he felt like a field general, like a quarterback should. And even when they cut to him on the sidelines, he didn't look like the backup. He looked like he was the starter of the team. So he put in the work on Sunday. So I mean, like I said, kudos to Drew for, half kudos to Drew because he drafted him, but he didn't play him. So I can't give full credit, just partial. But, it's okay.
He only picked him up so that nobody else could have him.
I think he did that more out of spite of being a Cowboy fan, like, oh, yeah, my guy's going to do real good, see?
But you know what, though? I mean, that happens. Sometimes you pick up a guy on waivers, not because you necessarily want him or need him. You just don't want your opposition to have him. So it happens in real life sports.
It's better to have and not need. Yeah, I mean, 100%. Yeah.
And kickers, as far as they're concerned, you've got Daniel Carlson from Las Vegas, and he's got Matt Amendola from Kansas City. Kickers are going to kick. That's what they do. You got the Tampa Bay. You got the Tampa Bay defense going against Green Bay. That might end up working out pretty well. He's got the Baltimore defense going against New England. New England hasn't looked fantastic.
New England looks like they suck this year, dude.
Baltimore's got a solid enough defense that could be a big advantage for him, I think. But again, it depends on Aaron Rodgers, because if he has a couple of bad passes early, he's one of these guys that only wants to go to people if he likes them. Because I know what happened the first couple weeks of the season. He's got a couple of receivers that are in their first year from like D2 schools, and they need to catch up to what the NFL game is to get kind of game speed. So and they made rookie mistakes, and he didn't go back to either one of them until the fourth quarter of the week 1 game. So he just kept going to like Cobb and Aaron. Who's my running back? Aaron Jones. He just goes to them because he's played with him before. He trusts them. He doesn't want to go to these other guys. He doesn't want to give them in-game reps to help learn and get the timing down. And that's going to hurt him in the long run, I think. But so you might end up getting the edge there a little bit. But then again, Baltimore's got a good defense, and New England has not been fantastic.
Yeah, let's just say, I mean, gut. Just going by gut, looking at the stats here. New England, they can't really do a lot this year. So it wouldn't be surprised if he outdid me on defense this week. But either way, it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a fun game. Rose, last week he didn't do as good. I don't know. I'm not sure if he had his roster set properly or whatever. I don't really know. But, I mean, he's got a lot of good players. So, I mean, it's not going to be an easy win or anything else. It's going to be a hard-fought game either way. But I look forward to it. It'll be fun. So,
as far as I'm concerned, I've got, I'm playing the one who loves kids next week. Let's see. Look, I didn't name the team. It's right there. It says I love kids. Whatever. I mean, dude, sorry. Don't get mad at me, YouTube. He named his team. But I've got Joe Burrow against the Jets. Look, actually, I'll be getting live updates because my son will actually be at that game in East Rutherford, New Jersey. He's taking a little day trip with his buddy, so I'll hopefully be getting live updates from that game. Look, it's got to come around for Joe Burrow and the Bengals at some point. The Jets are a team that it can happen against. So I like Joe Burrow finally finding his stride in this game. The flip side of that is Patrick Mahomes is playing an Indianapolis defense that just isn't all that good. I mean, like I said, I drafted him. I'm probably not playing him this week. I don't think I could justify it, especially against Kansas City. But yeah, he's going to put up points. Hopefully, Joe Burrow at least neutralizes Mahomes enough to where my running backs, who I think are superior to his, can get me all my points. He's got Ezekiel Elliott and Breece Hall in his roster right now. He actually had at one point that he moved him down. He moved. He for some reason drafted Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard back to back in our draft. I still don't know why he did that, but Pollard's been putting up points. I mean, Pollard has a big game.
Say, Pollard's been getting more touches than Zeke has, at least the last week. So I mean, if anything, I'm putting Pollard in over Zeke. I think Zeke's kind of a spoiled brat, kind of prima donna player, but whatever.
Last week against Cincinnati in the 20-17 win, he had 9 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown. Not to mention 4 receptions for 55 yards. So he's got 100. So he gets roughly 100 yards and a touchdown. That's a solid game.
Oh yeah,
that's a solid game. So I mean, he didn't get a whole lot of work against Tampa Bay in Week 1, but I mean, that game got kind of sideswiped by Dak getting hurt anyway. But yeah, I mean, right now Pollard might be the guy. I don't know, but he's got Ezekiel Elliott and Breece Hall going. I've got Derrick Henry and Aaron Jones. I think I win the running back battle. In the wide receiver / tight end spot, I've got Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen going again. I don't see myself making any changes. Maybe to my super flex, I might take Juju Smith-Schuster out. He's got the tight end T.J. Hockenson from Detroit and Darnell Mooney of Chicago going against Houston. Look, Hockenson puts up some points. He's a solid tight end. He's a low-end number 1, high-end number 2 in my book. And Darnell Mooney is one of the – is it him or the other guy who's the number 1 in Chicago? I forget. But, yeah, there's opportunity for him to score some points, but I think I've got the edge with Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. I will say, though, I am waiting for – Minnesota to break out a little bit, because one of the reasons I went ahead and drafted Adam Thielen is because they've got Kirk Cousins, who historically, even though he can't seem to win the big games, puts up good
he's
stats.
Never done much.
He's always like a top 10 fantasy quarterback. It was the same thing with Tony Romo for years.
Well, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah, he could never get he get into the playoffs and lose in the first round, but during the regular season for fantasy, he was always top 10. He was always a solid quarterback to have for fantasy. Just in real life, get to the playoffs and you sputter. And that's kind of what Kirk Cousins has been.
If you look at Tony Romo, he owns like every Dallas Cowboys stat for quarterback ever. And that's including Roger the Dodger style back and Troy Aikman. But, of course, I mean, when you really break down and look at it, Romo got it 10 to 15 yards at a time throwing to Jason Witten. So anybody could get stats like that. So for fantasy purposes, Kirk Cousins might pay off. I mean, if you can pick him up or if you already have him or whatever. Yeah. But, I mean, it's not a bad strategy.
And he's got Jalen Waddle going in the super flex spot. That's probably not a bad play against Buffalo. That game could be a little bit of a shootout. I've got Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't imagine I'm going to keep him there. There's other people I can put in there. I've got Damian Pierce, who is actually the clear number 1. In like as you can see right there on the screen, it says Pierce rushed 15 times for 69 yards and a score last week, and he's playing Chicago. I think I could put him in there. Dude, Christian Kirk, that guy put up a monster game last week for Jacksonville. I have no idea if Kittle's coming out. Drake London put up a big game last week too. Let's look at Drake London real quick. Yeah, last week, what did he get? 8 receptions, 86 yards, and a touchdown. Put up 20.6 fantasy points in our scoring setup. So yeah, that's not bad against the Rams.
Wow.
And he's playing Seattle. So maybe it's time I break out Drake London and throw him in there. I've got good depth on the bench. I'm just waiting for somebody. I'm waiting for a couple of these players to find themselves. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I know whenever I was going through my draft preparations, I had like 4 or 5 guys I knew that I wanted. I got about 3 of them. The other one that I wanted that I didn't get was Mike Evans. But the rest of them, I kind of had to pick on the fly. I had a long list of whatever, but, it's you do your best with what you can. And by the end of the draft, you're just trying to pick the best off the top of the pile. So, about how it works, right?
Yeah, Larry Tate says, why don't you play tight ends, but you have kickers? Well, the way that the guy who's running our YouTube league this year has it set up. And
ask J-Man that question on Sunday.
Well, I mean, it's a different setup. I mean, look, I've played in fantasy leagues here and there, like small money leagues, where you have different formations that you can play. It was really, really odd. It was the one year I did it, and I thought it was interesting, but it's like, so basically what it is you have a quarterback, 2 wide receivers, and then your wide receiver spots, you can play either a wide receiver or a tight end there. So that's it's like a mini flex, and then you have the standard flex down here at the bottom where you can play either a running back, a wide receiver, or a tight end in that flex spot. So you could technically draft 2 tight ends, play them in the wide receiver tight end spot, and then play a running back in your full flex spot and not have a wide receiver in your starting lineup at all, the way it's set up. I mean, it's no big deal to me. I'm using it pretty much as a wide receiver slot. You see, I have Diggs and Thielen in there, 2 standard wide receivers. But if I have 2 stud wide receivers and I want to put them in, I can go ahead and throw in my 2 wide receivers if I like the matchups. It's I'm not using that opportunity, but it's there for somebody who does want to use it. I don't really have a problem with it necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first year I've ever played in a league that had these specific rules to it, but I don't hate it. You know, it's not that it's bad or I'd never do it again or whatever. And I like having that flex spot be something where I can get more points than possibly just a standard tight end's going to get me, you know?
Yeah, so. And last year when I ran our YouTube league, I actually, Larry, I dumped the kicker and added a flex spot because I was like, who gives a shit about kickers? They're like, and this is long standing for me. This is what I've always thought. Kickers are good for like one big game a year. And if you're lucky enough to get that kicker in your lineup for that one game, it's kind of a crapshoot. It's usually a fluke. You never know that kicker's going to do that. It just works out that way.
Didn't McHale start like 7 tight ends or something?
Last year he drafted 4 or 5 tight ends. It was kind of, I don't know what he was doing, but yeah, and honestly, I remember last year I was looking at his lineup. I was like, he's got a couple of tight ends that are kind of worth having.
That's funny.
He had 1 tight end that I don't even think saw a snap all year. But it's like, but I was like, you know, I'm not afraid to try to make him a trade, help him get some depth. I could use one of those tight ends to use on my team, and I'll trade him a comparable running back that'll help us both out. But I mean, when you've got 17 tight ends on a 12-person team, I don't really know what I can do to help you. You know what I mean? But there's our kickers. You see him right there on the screen. He's got Justin Tucker. He's got Mason Crosby. You know, kickers are going to kick. That's what they do. I can tell you right now, I am not leaving the Indianapolis defense in there against Kansas City. I think as soon as I'm done with the stream, I'm going to start looking at my options on defense because the one that I have on the bench is Tennessee, and they're playing Las Vegas. I got to be honest, Las Vegas does not look fantastic this year. I might go ahead and take a chance on Tennessee's defense.
I had
a little bit of research.
I had the Vegas defense, and I dropped them. I believe I picked up Pittsburgh. It was the best one I could pick up at the time, but I don't know about them. I'm kind of iffy on them. I got to be honest with you, but I don't know.
Look and see what Kittle's doing. I was really excited to get Kittle when I got him because I feel like he dropped a round or 2, but let me see what it says about him. Shanahan's close to being available for 49ers Week 2 matchup with the Seahawks. That didn't work out. Kittle logged a little practice time last Friday. Shanahan said it looked awesome. He eventually entered the week as questionable. It was held out with the anticipation he'd be even healthier for Week 3. So obviously they want him to be on the field for Week 3. So maybe he'll be on the field against Denver. Certainly hope so because Russell Wilson has been a problem for the Niners for about the last decade. So we could use him. But anyway, that's what my team is looking like right now. Now, I'll go ahead and we'll get rid of that. And Tex, I'll go to you. What kind of what free agents are you looking at right now on the waiver wire? What kind of pickups are you looking to make out?
I was monitoring that earlier. At this point, I've already made a couple moves. I had to pick up a third quarterback because I was stupid enough to draft 2 dudes with the same bye week. So I believe it's week 6 or 9 or something. So it's, you know, whatever. Now, interestingly enough, I did see that Garoppolo is a free agent right now. So, you know, I think if anybody's going to get picked up, I could see him coming off the top, especially with, you know, Trey Lance and everything going down. San Francisco is a good team, and he could give you some big numbers, I would say. But, I mean, running back and wide receiver, that whole flex spot thing wise, there was nobody that I really saw that. Well, there was one, and there's one I've considered, and I still may pull the trigger on being Ingram. But other than that, I'm kind of set where I'm at right now. I've made a couple moves on defense and everything else. But other than that, we'll see what kind of people are going to start dropping players and picking up. I'm kind of interested to see who trades first because I haven't been offered a trade. I don't know about you.
I haven't been offered anything. I've been looking around to see, but again, it's really, I mean, we're only 2 weeks into the year, so it's really hard to try to gauge what people's needs are right now. Because again, it's been weird. There's been a lot of really big fantasy outputs the first 2 weeks of the year. So really you have to find out where your depth is first. Because I've got it in my head. It's like, do I want to, because I've got Burrow. I think Burrow down the stretch is going to be the Burrow from last year. And I think fantasy-wise, keeping him is definitely the smarter thing. But I've also got Trevor Lawrence. So my personal conundrum is right now is, do I try to maybe drop Trevor Lawrence and pick up Garoppolo, who is going to be a starter for the rest of the year, who I know is going to be a solid number 2 to have around, maybe even a starter depending on matchups? Or do I stick with Trevor Lawrence because he's looked pretty decent the first couple of weeks? I mean, he put up 16.5 points against Washington in week 1 in a loss, but he put up 22 points last week. And man, him and, like I said, I've got him and Kirk, and it's like I feel like, look, him and Kirk last year, they were exactly what I want from Burrow, or what I wanted from Burrow and Jamar Chase in my money league. It's like those guys connected last week the way that I want Burrow and Chase to connect for my money league. So I don't know if I want to go down the route where I'm doubling up on them yet, because I still like Burrow long term more than I like Lawrence. But if I drop anybody, I mean, it's probably, I don't really want to carry a third quarterback, but and there's not anybody on my bench. There's not anybody on my bench that I feel comfortable dropping to have him and use him as trade bait either. I mean, because I've got Rashad Penny, who's depth at running back is important. I've got Damon Pierce, depth at running back is important. I've got Freiermuth, who I like to have. I think he's going to be a good guy going forward. I got Christian Kirk. I've got Kittle. I don't really want to get rid of yet. Drake London has been huge the last couple of weeks. The only one I really got that hasn't really done anything for me yet is Sky Moore. And he didn't put up any points, no stats at all last week, and only 3.5 points in week 1 against Arizona. But it's like, this guy's got something. There was a lot of people that were really big on this guy coming into this year. So I feel like I want to hold on to him just in case fucking what's his name? Patrick Mahomes finds him and he's like, I like this kid. And then hits it. And because I have a feeling when that kid pops, he's going to have like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns in a game when Mahomes finally finds this guy. But I don't know. Like I said, right now that's kind of where I'm at. Is if I feel like if I'm going to drop anybody to try to pick up Garoppolo to have, either for depth or trade bait, it's going to be Sky Moore. And I don't know if I want to get rid of him, but I don't know. I mean, so yeah, as far as quarterbacks is concerned, I mean, yeah, Garoppolo is probably the one that everybody's going to be going after. I mean, not only is he going to be the starter, but he has proven himself to be an efficient game manager for the Niners for the last couple of years. Another one is Marcus Mariota. I mean, look, he's a good option for deeper leagues, or if you're in one of those super flex, like the 2 quarterback formats, like I was talking about, those weird formats. But in 2 games, he's averaged 16.7 points per game fantasy wise, and he can lead the offense. Not only that, but he's got good targets from Drake London, Cordell Patterson, who helped me win the league last year, and Kyle Pitts, who I think is who could be the next George Kittle. So I mean, he's got great targets to throw to. He's a veteran who knows what he's doing. I don't know. I feel like Mariota's another guy that if I wanted to go after somebody for depth, if I wanted to carry a third quarterback, it might be that guy. As far as running backs concerned, Raheem Mostert is a guy who's only in at least in ESPN leagues, he's only in 51.7% of leagues. Look, Mostert played for the head coach at Miami when he was the coordinator in San Francisco. So I feel like if he wants to go to somebody who he's comfortable with, he's going to go to Raheem Mostert. And Mostert put up stats. Mostert, I don't know if anybody's got him or not. Let me try to dig him out real quick so I can see exactly what he put up last week.
I think somebody does have him, I do believe. I can't remember who.
Raheem Mostert. Let's see if I can find him. Oh, I guess I can't just search for last name. I actually take the first name. R-H. Raheem Mostert. Let's see. Yeah, you can't find him. Status team. All players. Let's go taken players since he's probably on a roster somewhere. But yeah, I've actually got him on my money league.
Oh, really?
don't know why it's not pulling them up. Yeah, fuck this. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Screw this one. But yeah, I've got him in my money league. Yeah, I've got him in my. It's a new site, I can tell. They got to work on some stuff. But I mean, in the end,
there's some bugs. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like Raheem Mostert. Like I said, let's see. He's probably the number one starter for the running back for the Dolphins right now. He finished with 14 touches for 79 yards, and it went over the Ravens.
Right.
Let's see. Chase Edmonds, who signed the second largest contract amongst free agent running backs during the offseason, had only 6 touches for 41 yards. Also, Mostert had a higher snap percentage than Edmonds. So, yeah, both running backs are definitely going to be involved, but Mostert might be the one you want to keep. Also, don't forget guys like, Tyron David Price. I mean, he's hurt, yeah, but he's only going to miss a week, maybe 2. So, he's going to get some carries while what's his name? Eli Wilson is out for the Niners. As far as wide receivers are concerned, I mean, Nelson Aguilar is a guy who, for the Patriots, I mean, he's a guy that he's been constant. I mean, he's been on a couple different teams for a couple different quarterbacks. The guy's put up decent numbers. He had his best game on Sunday, playing in the slot and a little bit on the outside. He had 6 receptions for 110 yards and a touchdown for Mac Jones. Let's see. Also, Sterling Shepard. Look, the Giants have not looked bad the first couple of weeks, and Sterling Shepard might be a guy who can get a little bit of a boost in the fantasy stats from the Giants actually being a little bit successful this year.
Yeah, I didn't catch the Giants week 1. I saw part of them this past Sunday. They don't look bad now. I mean, given the whole NFC East is probably the weakest division of all of football right now. But, I mean, comparatively, I don't see the Giants having a problem with really anybody within that division. So they could do something.
Yeah, TSS says that Deity has Raheem.
Deity has him, yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, the Giants are going to host the Cowboys in week 3. And,
right.
I mean, yeah, they won last week, but do you really know what you're going to get with them until Dak gets back? One game from the backup. Yeah, he beat the defending AFC champs. Yeah, they're dealing with a bit of a Super Bowl hangover. It's early in the season. It's week 2, but I'm not sold on Dallas being a contender.
The Cowboys receiving core is problematic. They're very, you can't depend on them, and that's part of. I mean, just go back and watch week 1. That's half the reason why Dak got hurt was because he couldn't find anybody open to hit. So, I mean, it's, one game doesn't prove anything. Cooper Rush, doing good this past Sunday, but, there's already talk about Dak wanting to come back within 4 weeks. He's not going to come back within 4 weeks of a thumb surgery. That's not going to happen. He's not going to have the strength in his hand.
Yeah, on your throwing hand.
That is not going to happen. I mean, maybe week 7 or 8 at the maybe. We'd see, but who knows? I mean, they may rush him back out there and get him hurt worse. Who knows?
Yeah, as far as the tight end is concerned, Evan Ingram from Jacksonville. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has looked a lot better this year than he looked last year in that whole debacle with Urban Meyer. So, I mean, he's a reliable target. It says here that he's led the Jaguars in targets with 8 and receptions with 7, with a route participation rate of 85%. Reliable target. So he's going to have some low statistical outings, of course. But, I mean, certain weeks, if you get a good matchup, he might not be a bad guy to have. But 12 targets for the first 2 weeks of the season, that's not bad at all for a tight end.
Oh, no, not at all.
It also says in week 3, Ingram is a very good option against a Chargers defense that has trouble defending tight ends. So that might be the matchup you want to try him on. I don't know.
It could be. I mean, yeah.
But, yeah, I'm not sure. Still plenty to go around, but let's I mean, and if you don't have him, look, I don't know what his availability is in your particular league, but Tua put up a big fucking game last week, and if you need some quarterback depth, you might be able to find him. I mean, because a lot of people were kind of standoffish about Tua because, he hasn't done great his first couple of years in the league. They went out and got him a shit ton of talent on the offensive side of the ball, not just some people were protected along the line, but wide receivers and running backs as well. And he just had his career best performance leading that comeback win over the Ravens. This from ESPN.com. Players didn't need any further proof of Tua Tagovailoa's competence. So even after a performance that only one of their players recorded in franchise history, there was no message sent to the locker room. The quarterback's teammates hadn't seen anything they didn't like, they didn't think he was capable of. He set career highs with 469 passing yards and 6 touchdowns, and the Dolphins' 42-38 comeback win Sunday over the Ravens, becoming the second quarterback in franchise history, just the second, to record at least 400 yards passing and 5 touchdowns in a single game. The other person that did it, you want to guess?
Oh, I have no idea.
Dan Marino, Hall of
I should have figured.
Look,
I was thinking Ryan Tannehill, but he's another Aggie that I had on the brain, so I was going a complete different way with it.
Yeah, Larry Tate says that you shouldn't be on the wire. Look, I mean, maybe he is in your league. I don't know. There was a lot of people coming into this year that maybe didn't know what they were going to get at Tua, so they were going to back off him and go draft somebody else. So maybe he's out there in a lot more leagues. Maybe now I'm not saying he's going to be out there. I'm not saying he's only rostered in 10% of leagues. I would imagine there's probably a good 30 to 35% of leagues out there where some guys just didn't take him because they didn't know what they were going to get out of him. He's too much of a wild card. But but like I said, they went and got him all this explosive talent. They went and got Tyreek Hill from Kansas City. They got Raheem Mostert from San Francisco. They got some people that are going to help him out. So. And I said, this is the year he's going to prove whether he's a bust or not. And right now, I mean, at least after the second week, he's not looking too bad. So obviously, the Rose Gaming and his love for everything Miami Dolphins is.
I looked at getting to whenever I was putting my draft board projections together, but once I had Allen, I pretty much crossed him off. I kind of kept him around as well. Maybe if I can come back around and get him after I get my running backs or whatever. But he was gone. I think he went in maybe the first 2 rounds, I want to say, in our league. I can't remember exactly. I don't know. He's not bad. And yeah, if Rose was going to get any of his Miami Dolphins, why you missed that one, I don't know. But when you got Tom Brady, I can see why you maybe don't need him. So it's all good.
Yeah, but maybe it's if Tua's out there, you might want to look into him. Larry Tate says maybe your scoring is different. Is it 4 points for a touchdown? I honestly don't know what he's got this point set at.
I have no idea.
To me, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I need him to throw touchdowns, whether it's 4 or 6. I would imagine it's probably 4.
I couldn't even tell you where to look on this freaking Fantrax app. Good Lord. It's so watered down with unnecessary stuff. It's hard to find anything.
Like I said, I think more than anything else, I think the site is just new.
I do too.
The more I mess with it, the more I kind of see its value, but it definitely needs some work. Let me league rules summary. Maybe it's there. Let's see. General schedule, player pool, rosters, positions, scoring. Let's see. A passing touchdown is worth 6 points.
Okay.
A fumble lost. Fumbles and interceptions are -1. Fumble recovered for a touchdown on offense is 6 points, which whatever. I don't know why you would separate that, but whatever. It's 6 points. But so the only negative points you get are for turnovers. -1 for fumble, -1 for interception. But yeah, touchdowns are 6 points in our league.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, look, if Tua's out there, get him. I don't think he's available in our league. Let me take a look at some of the players that are available in our league, and maybe that can help inform me a little bit. Let's see. Of all the players available, Garoppolo obviously available. Jared Goff, Geno Smith still out there. Mac Jones.
Hey, if you want, go pick up Ryan Tannehill. He can throw you some interceptions. It'll be great.
Yeah, a lot of quarterbacks still. Trubisky's still out there. Trubisky's still out there. So I'm gonna go get Trubisky.
Right.
Let's see. Other than that, there's not a lot of huge names. Let me just go to the offense and get rid of all the defenses in here. There's a couple that are kind of clouded up.
The best defense that's available in our league is Chicago, from what I can tell.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot going on like on the available players right now. I mean, Garoppolo is obviously the biggest name out there because he's going to be a starter. As far as running backs are concerned, let's see. Mark Ingram's out there.
Yep.
His roster is actually dropped. He's actually in 2.7% less leagues. He's only at 59% of rosters.
I actually put in a claim for him on the waiver wire about 20 minutes ago.
Kyle Juszczyk, I mean, he's a great goal line guy to have if you just need to fill into the flex. I mean, he'll get you a touchdown here and there. He's not going to put up a lot of yards. He's mostly a blocking fullback. Yeah, there's not a whole lot running back wise. Isaiah
There's
Spiller.
not. Most of the good ones are already spoken for at this point. It's piece something together to put points on your board. I mean,
Yeah, looking
hell,
at
we've got.
some of these guys on
We,
the roster.
see, we did 7. Did we do a 12-round draft or was it 17? I can't remember.
I think it was 17. I'm not 100% sure.
So I'm going to say, yeah. So, I mean, we picked the bones pretty much clean. I mean, like, you know, that's what I'm saying. I'm starting to wonder at what point do people start offering trades and stuff, because the free agency pool, there's not a lot there unless somebody has like a breakout game and then somebody goes to nab them, you know, like Cooper Rush, you know, or whatever. So
it's all going to depend on there are no results for wide receivers that are available. That's weird.
Yeah, click on RWT and they all come up.
I don't know why. That's very odd. Let's just go wide receiver tight end because I don't want to have to look through every fucking offensive player.
Right. Or you can do that either way, yeah.
But yeah, on the waiver wire, let's look at guys that.
Hey, AJ Green. I had him on my fantasy team years ago when he was still playing for Cincinnati.
Yeah, so, Curtis Samuel and Taysom Hill are the ones that are seeing big increases in their roster sizes. Curtis Samuel is right now on 77% of rosters on Fantrax. That's up 36%.
Right.
Let's see, Zay Jones. I'm surprised some people aren't running to him a little harder. I mean, he's only on 34% of Fantrax leagues.
But he's up 10.9% this week.
He's up almost 11%. Same thing with Sterling Shepard. I guess people are kind of seeing what I was seeing about Sterling Shepard. But yeah, Jaden Hurst, Josh Palmer, another name that some people are going after. He's seeing a slight uptick. But yeah, I mean, as far as that, I mean, the big names really are quarterbacks. I mean, and Garoppolo's the guy. Do I go ahead and pull the trigger on Garoppolo?
You know he's going to be the man they're playing, obviously, with, you know, Lance out and whatever. But, I mean, do you fight your homer instincts and pick your guy, or do you play what's smart for your team, you know?
It's not homer. Garoppolo puts up numbers. I mean, look what
he did. That's true, yeah.
Look what he did when he came into the game last week.
Right. Let's see here.
I mean, let me pull this up and look at him real quick. He put up 28.5 fantasy points and didn't even play the entire game.
Right.
He
got. Let's see. I'm gonna pull up his name. He completed 13 of 21 for 154 yards and a touchdown while adding 5 rushing yards.
Yeah,
and another TD on 4 carries in Sunday's 27-7 win over Seahawks. So yeah, I mean,
18.5 fantasy points. I mean, that's not bad.
Right. No, I mean, I would imagine your starter would probably get more than him, but if you need a solid backup, you know, to play, that's not a bad one to have. And to get 18 points not on a full game, you know, he could just as easily be your starter there too. So
yeah,
he's ranked 31 out of 131 quarterbacks currently.
Well, so, yeah. I mean,
no, I mean like fantasy wise or whatever, not obviously in the league, but yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, even then in the league, because I mean, there's only 31 teams in the league.
Oh, I know.
He didn't play the first game, so he doesn't have the numbers the rest of the starters are going to have. But I think that's going to change. I mean, he's going to be the quarterback moving forward.
If anybody gets picked up, I could see him though.
You know what I find interesting though is Lance. He's like I said, he's super young. So one of the things I worry about is that, let's say that everything that I want to have happen happens. Garoppolo comes in, pushes the Niners to a division title, deep into the playoffs, maybe even wins the Super Bowl. Possible. They've got a Super Bowl worthy caliber roster, and Garoppolo's taken them there before. So it's entirely possible. Everybody stays healthy and doesn't get banged up. I mean, one of the nice things about Wilson being out for a while, or that Eli Mitchell being out for a while, is that he's going to have fresher legs till the second half of the season, which is going to help a lot. But if he does end up coming back and leading the Niners to a deep playoff run and another NFC title game, a lot of people were going to say, hey, maybe we should just go ahead and stick with this guy and to hell with Trey Lance. Because like I said, I wanted to give Lance one more year. I was like, if you want to move off Jimmy, go ahead, but he's young. You've got Jimmy who can manage the game and do what he needs to do. Why not use him for another year? You're paying him $1 bajillion anyway. One more year, give Trey Lance another year of growth. I think that would have been better for him than starting him this year. I think they feel compelled to do it because they spent all this they spent all this draft capital to trade up to get him. And I think that's a mistake.
Well, let's say 49ers plug him in, and it's like you said, they're winning and they're on a hot streak. There's something to be said about not messing with a winning formula. So, hey, Trey, grab the bench and learn something, kid. I mean, if we're winning, how could you just imagine being the coach of the 49ers and you're on a 5-game winning streak, and then, just because Lance is not healthy, we're going to plug him back in. He would be crucified. There's no way they're pulling him out at that point.
Yeah. I'm still kicking myself trying to figure out what to do with my defenses. I mean, do I start him? I might go ahead and I'll just swap out Tennessee, Indianapolis. Why not?
Hey, I'm sticking with Tampa. Tampa has been huge for me the last 2 weeks, so.
I don't even know whether defenses are even available out there anymore.
I'm not pulling them for anything. There is no chance in hell am I letting that go.
Let's see. Chicago's projected to get 12 fantasy points. Vegas 10.5. Giants 10.5. Everybody else is single digits. I don't see any matchups that I really like. I mean, Jets and Cincinnati, I don't like. Like I said, I think this is going to be the game where Burrow wakes up. If he's going to do it against anybody, it's going to be against the Jets.
It could. I mean, it's very possible, yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll have to. Hey, maybe if I get lucky, I get Garoppolo. I'll trade Garoppolo for a defense. Hey, right?
Somebody's going to need a quarterback, deep into this season, and he's not a bad one to have. So, I mean, if anything, he's trade bait later on. So,
yeah.
Why the hell not?
Let's see what you guys in the chat are saying. Jerry Jones is clearly getting up there in age. As we all know, the mind is always the first thing to lose. I've been saying for a long time, and this is coming from a guy who grew up in the Bay Area, and I come from a family of Raider fans. The biggest problem the Raiders faced for the last 20 years, well, not the last 20, but for 20 consecutive years, was Al Davis. He thought he was smarter than the game, and the game had just evolved past him.
Yeah, and Jerry Jones.
I didn't get – look, I'm an Ohio State fan. But him using a high supplemental draft pick for Terrell Pryor, I was like, why? You're going to get that guy as a free agent for a song, for nothing. Why spend a second-round supplemental draft pick and then cost you a second-round pick in the next draft to get this guy? I was like, it just doesn't make any sense. This is a guy who drafted Sebastian Janikowski in the second round, or the first round, or whatever the hell Janikowski went. This is a guy who used a high-round draft pick on a fucking kicker that nobody was going to get for their 3 or 4 rounds. I don't know. That was the problem. And I think that's where Jerry Jones is getting. I think that he thinks that through the 90s, I built this juggernaut that was the Cowboys dynasty with Aikman and Smith and Irvin and all these guys. And I did this. I know what I'm doing. No, you don't, dude. This is not 90s the NFL anymore. You are playing 2020 NFL. That was 30 years ago. The game is very, very different than it was 30 years ago. Tom Brady wasn't even in the fucking league 30 years ago. This is a Tom Brady league.
He's Cowboys. It wasn't Jerry Jones. Jerry was the pocketbook that whenever, Jerry said, go get X, Y, and Z, whatever. He was the mastermind. Jerry was the pocketbook. And that's what led to the ultimate destruction of, the Cowboys, because they both wanted the credit. Neither of them realized we need each other to do what we did. They could have won 2 more Super Bowls in the 90s if they had just not let their egos get out of check. But, Switzer comes in, he wins 1 with with Jimmy Johnson's team. And, then we haven't done crap since, but, so goes history. It is what it is.
Yeah. But let's see. EJ says during his weekly radio show on 105.3 in Dallas.
The Fan.
Yeah, he said, Davis, that is, said, Jerry Jones, rather, said, just ready topics, including Michael Gallup's imminent return. After stating he hopes to have Gallup for the team's Monday night game against New York Giants, Jones started praising another receiver on a team, a guy named Wilson. The only problem is the Cowboys don't have a wide receiver named Wilson.
They don't have any of those, yeah. Well, how you know that the NFL season is young down here is by how tight Jerry's facelift is pulled. Because when you look at him in training camp, the back of his eyeballs connect to his ears. And then by the time playoff time gets here, he's droopy as all get out. So that's kind of how you know things are going. Like if you ever watch a Cowboy game, he can't even wipe his own glasses clean. He has like his nephew or, grandson or whichever relative it may be. They take his glasses for him and do it for him. And unfortunately, Stephen Jones, his son, he kind of lets dad do whatever he wants, which, I mean, it's his team. He has the right to, but, the Cowboys suffer for it.
But you know what? You can't deny that the Raiders are in a much better position after a couple of years of Al Davis' son, Mike Davis, running the team. He's got some off-field issues, of course, but, I mean, he is not one of those guys. He doesn't think like his dad, like, I'm smarter than the rest of the NFL. He's not that kind of guy. So, and look where the Raiders have been the last couple of years. They've been progressing into a much better team.
And that will be Dallas too. Once Jerry Jones will always be involved until they put him 6 feet under. He's never going to quit and walk away. That will never, ever happen. Now, Stephen Jones is a smart dude, and I like him. He drafts differently than Jerry does. And when Jerry's not around to, basically just, take control of everything, they've done better. But you got to get Jerry out of the way. The best and the worst thing that ever happened to the Dallas Cowboys is Jerry Jones. He made them so profitable, made them so much money, but he wants to be the football guy too, and he's just not.
Don't they even call their stadium like Jerryville or something like that? Or
it's called Jerry World. That's what it's called. Yeah, it's called Jerry World because he wanted that stadium. Obviously, Texas Stadium. That's the greatest football stadium ever. It had the hole in the ceiling so God could watch his favorite football team, the Dallas Cowboys. But when they built Jerry World, they're in Arlington. It's not Dallas. That makes me so mad. Oh, welcome to Dallas, Texas. Dallas is 20 minutes east. What are you idiots doing? This is Arlington, Texas. When they call a Texas Ranger game, they say Arlington because they're literally within a mile of each other. You can see one from the other. But, it's neither here nor there.
It's kind of the same thing in San Francisco. You see what they play in now. Levi Stadium is not even in San Francisco County.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually if you can go to Google Earth and check this out, go look at Levi Stadium. They actually share a parking lot with the big amusement park in the area, which is Great America.
It's the exact same way here. Yeah, within a mile and a half, you have Cowboys, the Texas Rangers, and the Six Flags all right next to one another. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's actually in Santa Clara County. It's actually about a half hour closer to where I grew up than it was when they were playing Candlestick. Because Candlestick Park was about an hour-ish drive, give or take, depending on California traffic. It was about an hour and 15 minutes to get from where I grew up in Santa Cruz, California, to Candlestick Park, where it was out on Candlestick Point, which is at the very southernmost part of the San Francisco metropolitan area. They actually moved it a lot farther south into Santa Clara County, and that's where they built Levi Stadium. It's on the other side of the parking lot. They share a parking lot with Great America, which is the big amusement park where I grew up. I've been in that amusement park dozens of times. So yeah, it's actually where they play now is only about a half hour or so from where I grew up. It's not even in San Francisco County. It's really fun. But they put things in all kinds of weird places. I mean, the airport, Cincinnati Airport, is not even in the state of Ohio. It's technically over the river in Kentucky.
In Kentucky?
Which I find out, but it's Cincinnati Airport. It's Cincinnati whatever airport, I forget the name of it. I fly to a closer airport when I leave, but I mean, yeah, it's funny the way they do things like that.
That is hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, that's the problem with some of these owners is like they just get old and they think that they've still got a good grip on things. And if Al Davis showed us anything, no, look, I'm not saying that Al Davis and Jerry Jones, for that matter, weren't very important to the league.
Jerry
in their time. Yeah. I mean, Jerry Jones built the juggernaut that was the '90s Cowboys. I mean, there was a team of the 70s in Pittsburgh, a team of the 80s were the Niners, and even though some other teams won, I mean, the Niners won a Super Bowl in the 90s. I mean, the 90s, the NFL,
the 90s were the Cowboys' decade.
By the Cowboys.
You can't argue that.
Yeah, they were the best team of that decade. So, I mean, there's no denying what he did in his time, but I mean, look, the game gets past all of us. We tend to see it more in the players because when they get to like the 30, 32 year-old range, you can tell the body just can't quite do it. You start to fall off a little bit. You lose a little bit of a step. Your 40 speed's a little slower. That's why by the time they're 35 or 40, they're done with the game. But these guys, these owners, I mean, they go until they're 90 years old, and they've owned the team for 50 years, and they don't always recognize when changes in the game happen because it's a much slower pace than it is watching a guy's 12-year career play out. So,
well, I mean, somebody like Jerry Jones, obviously the Super Bowls and everything else, but Jerry Jones's greatest contribution to football is on the marketing side, the money side, the sponsorship side. Like the Cowboys, they have an official soft drink and an official end zone soft drink. So they both have Dr. Pepper and Pepsi. How many millions of dollars does that bring in every year? I mean, this dude is a genius marketing guy. If I ever had $100 to start a business and that's all I could live on, I'm giving my money to Jerry Jones and letting him do whatever he thinks is best because he can turn anything into gold.
I noticed something last year in the playoff game with the Niners, between the Niners and Dallas. It's like, and I think I talked about this on Derailed after the game was over too, because the whole ending of the game with Dak sliding, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
Is I was watching the game, and as I'm watching it, Jerry Jones comes up on screen, and they put the lower third on there that says his name, Jerry Jones, and then his position. And it's like, owner, GM, head concession, lead footman, head trainer.
Exactly.
And I'm like, dude, this is one of the things that I think you should do as an owner is get the fuck out of the way and write checks. Because the days of having guys like, because I grew up a Niner fan in the 80s, we had Eddie DeBartolo. And DeBartolo was not just a smart businessman to own a football team. He was smart enough to know I need football people to make decisions. So he brought in guys like Carmen Policy. Dwight Clark, after he retired, became one of the big front office guys for the 49ers. He had Bill Walsh for years. He had football people to make football decisions. He wrote the checks. That's all he did. And one of the things that kept the Niners from succeeding for a long time until about the time that like the Kaepernick and Harbaugh regime came in is the guy Jed York, who runs the team now. He was one of those guys that's like, I'm going to go in there and be a DeBartolo. I'm going to run this team. I'm going to be hands-on. And I'm like, dude, you don't know anything about football. I mean, DeBartolo knew plenty about football, but he also knew to get the fuck out of the way and let football guys make football decisions. And now what's happening in San Francisco? He's backed off. He hired Shanahan as a coach, a football guy. He hired John Lynch as a GM, a football guy. He's letting football guys make football decisions, and he's writing the checks. He's handling the bottom line and the profit and loss statement. He's letting the football guys do the X's and O's and worry about the staffing of the on-field talent. And now what's happening? You're seeing them build a great team up. They're a perennial contender, barring crazy injuries. So the thing about Jerry is I don't think he's doing that. He wants to be in control of all the personnel. He goes through coaches like crazy. He doesn't give them enough personnel say. He's involved in everything. It's like, and while you're doing that, it's great that you have all this oil money or wherever the hell he even gets his money from.
He's an oil money guy.
But you're not letting your stuff. You're suffocating and holding back your own product and not letting it grow.
He can't get out of his own way. And he's a very narcissistic egomaniac, and whenever they're winning, he wants all the credit. He's the first one to jump in front of a microphone or a TV camera. Whenever they lose, we'll send Mike McCarthy out there. You know what I mean?
and it blows my mind that somebody who, in my opinion, has been such a smart businessman is making such a dumb business decision. You know what I mean? I mean, just looking at it from a business standpoint. You hire your middle management guys to do the actual managing of the business, and you step back and do the bigger picture stuff. Why are you down there micromanaging your team? I don't get it. Larry says the problem with most NFL owners is owning a team is just a hobby. Makes sense. Well, I mean, to some of these guys, it's not a hobby; it's a passion. You can afford to indulge in this passion because Jerry Jones, you've got oil money, or DeBartolo, he owned a bunch of property actually not too far from where I live. The DeBartolo family is actually from here in Ohio, believe it or not. So they own a shit ton of property. Actually, there's a couple of places a little bit up north. If you go there, there's this place called Upper Valley Mall. It's about a half hour north of here. If you go up there, on the sign for years it said a DeBartolo property. They own it. They're actually from the Youngstown, Ohio area, way up north by the lake. But they own a shit ton of property, and they owned malls and strip malls, and that's how they got their money. And that's how he ended up eventually owning the 49ers, is he used all that money to buy a football team. So yes, it's a hobby, but it's a passion. They are afforded the ability to indulge in this passion because of the money they've made everywhere else. To some people, yeah, it's an investment. I mean, and some ownership groups are weird. I mean, like the Packers have a weird ownership thing where the Packers are actually owned by the people who live in Green Bay.
So I was gonna say, can't like if you live there, you own like a small little tiny piece or something.
I'm not getting this right. I know I'm not, but if you move to Green Bay, I think they pretty much just like give you a share of the Packers.
Okay. Yeah, I've always heard that, but I never cared enough to research it or anything.
They don't have an owner; they have a president or a governor or something like that. So the team is technically owned by the people of Green Bay, but they actually get together and they actually have a stockholders meeting every year where they basically fill up the stadium with all these people that own a share of the Packers, and they will actually have them vote on stuff like this. But
that's cool.
Yeah, Larry says, yeah, I meant ownership of a team. It's not their main income. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, but you're not wrong that it is kind of a hobby, but it's also a passion. Kind of like if you're super rich and you like to go sailing in these regattas or go to the the World Cup and whatever, not the World Cup. What am I talking about? The fuck, what's that big cup race they do, the sailing? But anyway, it's like you do stuff like that as a passion. The money you make on your regular job afford you this really expensive passion that you have. But yeah, that's the problem. Is I think he just needs to step back, or he needs to hire. Look, me living just north of Cincinnati, I can tell you this: the reason why the Cincinnati Bengals were so bad in the '90s is because their owner did the same shit. And what ended up happening? He stepped back and started hiring football people to make football decisions. Now where the Bengals at? They just got done playing football.
And I think that will happen with Stephen Jones as owner one day. And I really like Mike McCarthy as the coach. I think he's smart. He knows football, and I like the improvements that he's made to the Dallas Cowboys since he got here. And I mean, obviously, he's won Super Bowls. He knows what he's doing. He's had good players. He's a smart guy. So I've got faith in it. I miss the Cowboys winning. Like, it's been the 90s. I want another Cowboys Super Bowl. I would love to see it. I'm not counting on it, but
I think when you have 3 or 4 really good teams in each conference, that's when football's at its best.
It is.
Because for years you had like the Niners, the Cowboys, Green Bay, and there was a couple other teams in the NFC that were constantly just going at each other. And then for most of the last, well, I mean, that's one of the bad things about the juggernaut that was the Patriots dynasty for 20 years is that they pretty much ran over the rest of the AFC. So the AFC was almost unwatchable because you're always just looking at it. You're like, yeah, I know how this is going to turn out. They're going to win the conference championship game.
Well, and go back and look at a lot of that Tom Brady era in New England. Once they started winning, look how easy a lot of their schedules got every year. I'm not saying they didn't help them, but you know what I mean. So strength of schedule plays a lot into that Patriots dynasty as well, but it is what it is.
Well, that and the fact that they were in a really shitty division for most of that time. I mean, Buffalo didn't get good until Tom Brady had left for Tampa Bay. So
hell, for like 10 years, their only competition in their own conference was Miami. For whatever reason, Miami always had their number. So
yeah, but there's the game moves very, very fast, and some of these owners they just have to understand. Look, if you look at some of the most successful teams over the course of the last 50 or 60 years in the NFL, from like the 70s on, a lot of them were run by owners who they do exactly what I said. They let football people make football decisions. Look at the Cowboys, or not Cowboys, but Detroit. They had Matt Millen in there, a football guy, as their president of operations. He was doing everything but football stuff.
Bro.
He was actually like the president of the team. So he wasn't spending all of his time looking at players, evaluating talent, and trying to figure out how to make the team better. He was dealing with shit like, human resources stuff and marketing and shit like that. He wasn't looking at the football stuff. And he was stretched too thin, and he couldn't concentrate on the part that he really knew, which was the football stuff.
Right.
And so that's why Matt Millen got there, and he was an abject failure because he wasn't doing just football stuff. There should have been somebody saying, like, who owns the Lions? Is it the Fords? I think the Ford family still owns them.
I believe so, yeah. I think so, yeah.
those guys needed to be the ones that said, okay, we're going to handle all this business shit, but you're going to work with the general manager and the coach and the coaching staff and our scouting department, and you're going to find us the players we need to field a good team. And But he wasn't doing that. He had to split his time. He just didn't have enough time in the day to give to the area that he needed the most. No, Larry, I am not in Sharonville. I am not terribly far from there for fear of doxing myself. I will say I live near Dayton. I live near.
He's far away from anywhere you may know.
Yeah, I live near Dayton. That's probably a little bit better for you. I live just north of Dayton, but yeah, that's as close as I'll come to doxing myself. Not that I'm afraid of anybody knocking on my door looking for trouble. I feel a great deal of pity for anybody who does that. Yeah, Tex knows.
They're going to get if you want to know what Frank's capable of, just kick his door into 3 a.m. You'll figure it out.
It's not that hard. You'll find out. I matter of fact, I got the modified RIP rounds. I got the whole magazine.
Oh, I carry those exclusively. I love those things.
I have that, and in my other magazine, I carry the Hornady Critical Defense, the polymer-filled hollow points.
Oh, yeah. Those are my favorite. Those Hornady RIPs. Whoever developed them, I want to write them a thank you note and a love letter because they made one of the greatest toys ever. So, yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I actually looked at it. I actually thought about it the other day. I was talking to a friend of mine at work, and I said I could put out something like 300 rounds before I have to jam another mag. So, and I won't need the first one. I won't need the first one to finish the job.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have a sign out in my front yard, and people think it's a joke, but it says, "We don't call 911," and it has a big old Smith & Wesson on it. It's not a joke sign. It's how things actually operate. So,
hey,
take it, at your own risk, I guess. So.
The average response time for 911 for the police, if I call 911, is not nearly as fast as the average response time of my 9mm. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, I mean.
Not that I want to hurt anybody. I don't go looking for trouble, but if it comes from me, trouble's gonna have to get dealt with.
Yeah,
but
trash has to get took out, right? So.
Yeah, I don't think anybody sent any donations tonight, so I won't bother looking. Usually, if anybody does, then they usually say so in the chat.
People should send all their money for the high quality entertainment we're giving them.
They really should.
Just send your entire 401k to the channel. We'll appreciate it.
At least we don't have the Rose and Casey on here.
Well, I mean, if you want video game talk, those are the guys to talk to. But you ask me or Frank, we ain't gonna know diddly squat. So it's all good. So.
Yeah, but I think that's probably a pretty decent place to wrap things up. Drew is actually still going on Less Than Serious over at his channel. So go down in the description below, check out his shit, and go into his chat and give him some love. I've been watching him on my phone while we've been talking football. So
yeah, I'll click over whenever we get off of here.
I actually forgot to like his video. I need to do that real quick before I forget. And I hope that you guys do not forget to go ahead and like this video. Also subscribe if you're new to the channel. I know Jerry Tate's the first time I'm seeing him in the chat. So hopefully you like what you see and you subscribe to come back around. Again, we talk football once a week or so right now. Normally what we talk about is movies. We talk about all the crazy stuff that goes on in the world of movies, television, streaming, all that stuff. Definitely some stories to go into overnight. Give you a little bit of a sneak peek about some things as I pull up my show notes for Thursday night. Let me get to those real quick. I know we're going to be talking about the Karate Kid movie that is coming out.
Yes, they're doing
a new Karate Kid movie. I do not know about it being fun. I've read some more things about it today that have me.
I'm hoping it's more like the '80s one. I'm trying to be, optimistic at this point. So
I personally don't like the idea, but that's just me. Now, I'll go into the reasons why on Thursday. But yes, there is apparently a new Karate Kid movie coming from Sony in 2024. Also, some news about Norman Reedus. He's sharing some details about what he's calling a fucking epic European Walking Dead spinoff he's going to be doing. Obviously, we're going to be talking a little bit about Keanu Reeves returning for the Constantine.
I can't wait for that.
That has not been officially greenlit yet, but they are moving forward. Also, there's going to be a little bit more Ezra Miller talk. There's some stuff that has come out about him in the last couple of days that makes his situation that much more serious. So also, we might be talking about, I have to do some research on this. We might be talking about the Kevin Smith's comments about how Harvey Weinstein is holding Dogma hostage, wanting $5 million for the rights to that movie. With me and Jeremy being Kevin Smith fans,
I was going to say, y'all know that Kevin Smith stuff back and forth.
Yeah, we might talk about that a little bit too, and then whatever else pops up in the world of entertainment and everything between now and Thursday. Also, we'll be giving away $25 to one of our Patreon members on Thursday. That's $25 to go see whatever movie you want. I'll send you $25. You go see a movie on us. Again, I don't do that to boost the box office sales for the production companies. I do that to go help the theaters. Theaters were hit very, very hard by the pandemic the last couple of years. But if you believe Joe Biden, the pandemic is now over. He said so on TV just a couple of days ago.
Can we record that and hold him to that whenever elections come up in November?
On YouTube. So, hey, the president said it. It's got to be right. So let's believe Joe Biden on this one, if nothing else, and go back to the theaters and support those guys, because a lot of them are just kids that are working their way through school, through college. I know in my area, I've got a couple of colleges in the area. So a lot of these kids that work at the box office, that work at the concession stand, they're just trying to work their way through lives the same way all of us are. So I really want to try to get people out there to support the theaters. We now have a full filming schedule, full release schedules. This summer was a bit slow, but there were some big ones that came out this summer. Next summer, starting probably in the early spring, is going to be off the chain. There are some big movies coming out in the next summer movie season. It's going to be huge. So yeah, you have time between now and Thursday to go join the Patreon. It's just $5 a month, and for $5 a month, you support us. You help our channel grow, and you get a chance to win $25 in free movie tickets, or to spend on whatever you want. Really, I just really want you to go spend on the movie tickets, because the theater experience is still and always will be the best way to experience a film.
100%.
Do not. I mean, I feel sorry for these younger kids that have never seen Star Wars on a big screen, that have never seen Indiana Jones on a big screen.
Yeah.
That they've only. I mean, yeah, big screen TVs are nice. I have a bigger screen and I like it, but I mean, nothing replaces the theater experience. And I'm very, very glad that back at full
experience is the best word in that whole sentence. It's not that you're just staring at a screen that's 70 feet wide or whatever it is. It's being in the crowd with your fellow man, having an experience that you'll remember 10 years from now. Oh, do you remember when we went back and saw Jaws when they put it in theaters or whatever, just cool stuff like that.
Yeah. And one of the things that was really nice about, as the theaters were starting to reopen, as the pandemic was as we were starting to get through the worst parts of the pandemic, they didn't have any new movies to release, because the production companies were the film companies were delaying a lot of stuff. So they were actually putting a lot of stuff out, re-releasing it. I got to take my kids to go see Jurassic Park, the first Jurassic Park on the big screen for the first time in their life. And even me, having seen the movie on a big screen several times when it first came out, even I was in awe just the way it felt to be in the presence of these dinosaurs on the big screen. It was it was so great, and I got a chance to go watch. I know they re-released Purple Rain in theaters. I got to go watch I got to go watch Back to the Future in theaters again. I mean, that was one of the really great things. I got to have those experiences I thought I would never get to have again.
My local theater had a deal where you could rent the whole theater for like $125, and we did that a couple times. And I had them play my favorite film, Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007, and then for my kid's birthday, we rented the theater out, and it was for Godzilla versus Kong when it first came out. And I tell you what, just like the Jurassic Park, seeing those huge monsters on the big screen, it was so cool. I mean, you can't beat that experience. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you cannot beat the theater experience. It's always going to be the best way to see a movie, even a rom-com. Go see a rom-com. Go see some comedy. It's so honestly, I have said it a long time. I know that J-Man, we were talking a while back about theater experience. He thought theaters were dead. They were never going to come back. And I said, there's no fucking way, because when I went and saw Avengers Endgame in theater, and I remember it was a packed theater. It was Endgame was opening night. I went to the first screening at my local theater, my local Regal that night. I got special tickets to a big fan event. We got like lanyards and little coins, which I still have somewhere. I've been meaning to put the thing to show everybody.
That's cool.
But there, and the guy standing next to me had I had Jennifer sitting to my right and some guy who I did not know sitting next to me on my left. And when that when Milner comes up off the ground, you know who's picking it up. There was a moment of excitement.
I knew it.
Throws and hits Thanos and comes back, and you see Cap turn to look back towards the camera. Me and this guy to the left of me were like hugging and crying. I have no idea who this guy was. He could be an axe murderer for all I know. He could be into some bad shit. But in that moment, we were just fans enjoying this moment that we were never going to be able to experience like that again together. And that's what's great about the theater experience.
Right.
It's we can put all the political bullshit aside. We can mean whatever.
Exactly.
Not like in sport, the same sports teams. All that doesn't matter in the moment. We have this shared experience together, and that's one of the things that theaters can do that we are never ever going to be able to replace. That's why theaters must and always will survive. And before we get out of here, I do want to go over there. I'll give you a look at what Drew's doing over on his show. Let's see. I think this is the screen. Yep. We'll go ahead and show you what Drew's doing.
Let's have a look.
Did it come up? I got to turn it back on. Hold on one second. Still learning how to. There we go. There's Drew. There. Look at those two ugly sons of bitches right there. Look, hey, reach out to me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is in the link below. Let me know what I should name my team because I'm playing that guy on the right now. I am playing Casey is Raw.
I'm playing the guy on the left, and I'm going to victimize him come Sunday. So
hell yeah,
it's all good. I'm going to beat him so bad I might get arrested for a hate crime, but we'll figure it out. So it'll be all good.
I just went to his chat and told him that I was showing him on the channel.
I think Casey's Sweepy. He just yawned.
Hey, Casey Sweepy, you need to be sleepy before you set your lineup, damn it. I mean, it's not like I'm not going to beat him by 50 points anyway. But
right.
Come on.
So to say, if you don't beat Casey, you just go ahead and delete your whole profile, Frank. Just
take the L on this one, Casey. You know that's how it's going to work out. But hopefully, everybody. EJ says, Frank, don't mess with my wife. Is Casey your wife? Well, I guess. Hey, there's Drew.
Oh, dress off.
There's Drew.
Oh, that was good.
But anyway, go check out Derailed. Link to the description in the below. Derailed News and Podcast. I'm usually over on his show every Sunday. Texas most Sundays too. That's where we go and talk about all the other stuff that's going on in the world of current events.
That's where we go yell at each other about politics, and then we're friends afterwards. So it's always fun.
It's just the fun part. It's always entertaining too, especially when we get drunk. Right. Drew has to.
That's the best part. We're drunk and we're over talking each other, and it's great.
Anyway, go check out Drew. There's him right there. He's look. There's us. Oh wow, it's Inception. It's like I'm in a YouTube channel, then it's in a YouTube channel.
Hang on, I need a coin to spin or something. I need a little top to see if this is real or not.
There we go. I need to turn you off again so I can pause it on there. No, I'm gonna run. There we go. But yeah, definitely go check out Drew. Like I said, link to his link to his channel rather is in the description below. Thank you. There's the Drew. Hey, there you go, Drew. There you go, buddy. I don't know what week I play him. I have to gear up for that week too. But go check out Drew.
He'll be an easy victory for you. No worries.
Probably not as easy as Casey, but I mean, I'm sure I'll take Drew. Anyway, also take a minute to go check out all the other great creators that I've got down there. I'm going to be adding a few to that as well. But go check out Night Watch Zone. Go check out Heisman Defoe, Talk That Talk, Ghetto News and Opinion. Go check out all my people down there. The Horny Goat, I think they've got a thing. I think the Horny Goat is actually live right now too. I'm not 100% sure. But go check all them out as well. And don't forget to come back here on Thursday so we can talk movies. Tex, anything you want to shout out before we get out of here?
Oh, yeah. Check me out at /Vision on Twitter and subscribe to the Derailed News and Podcast Patreon, only $1 a month for the movie show that Drew and I do, Off the Reels. We're covering the Saw films right now, and we're going to be doing a live special on the Derailed channel, I believe, for Halloween, discussing the Saw things and who knows what else. So, Frank, if you're able to, you're more than welcome to hop on and talk about Halloween movie spooky stuff, So, make sure you're tuned in and check us out. So,
yeah. As for me, you guys know where you can find me. here every Thursday night, and probably I'll make it kind of a regular Tuesday thing to try to talk some NFL. Maybe my schedule can sometimes fluctuate, but I'm going to try to get them on here once a week and talk football with anybody who wants to come on. And as far as that, that's about it. Thank you guys very much for coming and hanging out with us. A couple of new people again. Thank you very much. TSS, EJ News. What's up, EJ? Larry Tate, thanks for joining the channel. We appreciate it. Let's see. Frederico was in here at one point. Who else? Casey was in here early on. Drew was in here early on as well. Again, go check him out. Go check out all these great guys in the comments below, and we will see you guys later on. Adios.
See y'all later. I'm gonna go watch Drew shit.
Me too.